Alright everyone, it's time for today's news. We should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. That's what I'm talking about. Unpause and repause. Of course, we're going to be mainly talking about the election results today. They were pretty much as expected, so there's definitely some pertinent analysis, don't get me wrong. A couple of the races, the ones that aren't being mentioned as much, actually are more important than like the Mamdani win, but of course that's the one that's big in the news. Yes, the mayor-elect of New York City is a communist, indeed. Spider Eternal. In before, that wasn't real communism, man. New Yorkers are idiots to add more to communism's death tally. Yes, it's going to become a problem for New York City. Mamdani will inevitably fail. Because it doesn't matter whether he implements or doesn't implement the policies. Either way, it makes no difference. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage, feeling blackpilled, seems 2026 will be a bloodbath. I wouldn't get premature about that one. Off elections tend to go in a more left-wing direction anyway, and you've got to understand where these elections were being held are in areas that are, it's not the middle of Wyoming or something like that, so don't really worry about it, I would say. Voodoo Viking sent 99 cents. Thank you very much. Yep, Tom Whiting, you're correct. Yep, the Democratic leader is effectively Chuck Schumer at the moment. Wonderful for them. But it was fun looking at the results, waking up in the morning and seeing that pretty much everything was as predicted. Like, there were only a couple of races there that were really in play at all. We're also going to be talking about the myth of Ozempic reducing obesity. This is from a Vox.com article. The Ozempic effect is finally showing up in obesity data. I think that there is another reason that Vox would not like to report on. Let's put it in terms of people skipping meals, so to speak. I have a feeling that that has more to do with it. There's a trashy feminist article here that actually has a few kernels of truth in it. And actually some white pilling, actually, for people. Women think that having a boyfriend is embarrassing now. When you actually look through the article, of course, you'll find, of course, they're not speaking for all females, number one. I thought women didn't exist. How can you, this is an Inside Hook article. I thought they didn't even exist, but apparently they've discovered women. They actually do exist. Sort of like discovering a unicorn, I suppose. But if you go through the article, there is some wisdom there. It's just a very obtuse title with a very feminist sort of approach. Mosquitoes have been found in Iceland, and they think that they might actually become indigenous to Iceland. Or rather, they're colonizing Iceland, I suppose, which probably would scare a few people if they realize that the species that's up there is not one that can actually transmit pathogens from human to human. Bill Maher went nuts about UFOs, and then we've got a bunch of other stuff that we've got to talk about too. My one-offs will be after the live stream today, because I had things that I had to do. I see that King of Biltong is here. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Hello, Anton. That means it's Biltong time. Which reminds me, we'll get to our sponsors in a few minutes. First, though, I wanted to do the election results and what it actually means. Now, look at the Virginia gubernatorial race. Spangenberger winning fairly easily. That was expected. Mamdani won in New York City. Fairly expected. Ciattarelli did get defeated in New Jersey, but that was really the only race where it seemed like there was a plausible path forward for the GOP anyway, so it's not the biggest surprise in the world. I'd given that about a 50-50. And then, the surprise of the night, the one that we should really be focusing on, by the way, Virginia Attorney General, where Jay managed to win despite quite literally having been revealed to have wished for the shooting of his opponent's children at one point. I would say this is an indictment of the voters there more than anything else, except that early voting, mail-in mainly, had already taken place before those revelations were made. Had they been made earlier, he probably would have had to drop out entirely. But people were not aware of this. So the Attorney General of Virginia, to be clear, you should not visit the state, is a person who literally wished death upon small children because they were relatives of someone that he was a political rival to. So Virginia is now off the tourism list, I think, for a lot of people. As you get arrested there, you've got a literal sadist as the Attorney General. Ah, how wonderful! That's just great. And then the mayor of New York City is a communist. As far as Schellenberger, it's more like standard liberal and stuff like that. And in New Jersey, again, not a huge surprise. It does matter in two ways, though. The Republicans underperformed, but New Jersey is no longer a solidly blue state. So there's your silver lining, GOP. You fucked up the race, but it does show movement in your general direction. So, you can take it or leave it. The GOP managed to fuck that race up. And in Virginia, of course, again, with the AG race, it was due to early voting more than anything else. But Schellenberger and Mamdani were always almost certain to win, so I don't see why people are bitching. The mythology right now is that people outside of the left are like crying like babies and hugging each other. Oh my God, the world is ending mode. No, not really. And this doesn't really show any extra energy for the Democrats because Mamdani especially is going to ruin their fucking chances. And Jay down in the AG race, down in Virginia, might very well get kicked out anyway by his own constituents fairly quickly because a lot of people that voted for him initially were not aware of the fact that he was wishing death on children. So he's going to be a one-termer quite clearly. It's, so this is, it was a defeat. But then again, the other part is the Democrats win the battle, but then lose a war because they've just elected a literal communist as the mayor of the largest city in the United States. I don't think that's going to go over well. If people like Cuomo and Eric Adams are tarnished, and trust me, they are, wait till you see what Mamdani can do. Actually, it's almost a win for the Republicans, I suppose, because he's going to fuck up so bad regardless of what he does that it does not even matter. Follow through with your plans, cripple the New York City economy. Don't follow through with your plans, cripple your entanglement with the leftoids, and they all abandon you. So I don't know which way he's going to go. We'll wait and see. Last weekend, I feel like I got punched in the gut numerous times, then punched in the face 5 more times. Oh, that sucks. Did you fall down the stairs? Spike. Both GOP candidates campaigned against Trump in the primary. Also, low turnout Virginia and New Jersey both had 20% less than 2024, and Pennsylvania had a 50% drop. We have too many weak Republicans. That's the other point. Turnout does matter. It does. As far as Mamdani goes, though, because he's the one that most people are talking about, again, I find the New Jersey and the VA, the Virginia AG race much more interesting. But Mamdani is going to make a mockery of the Democratic Party. He's going to be basically a flash in the pan, if I had to guess. By the way, thankfully, because he was born in Uganda, at the very least, he can never seek the presidency. So this is good news. We will not have a communist president in our lifetimes. Although some of them approach it, Some of you still remember FDR. Close enough. Last weekend, the J. Jones Wishcaster, if you want to call it. That is the one most stark and cold. It just shows you that the Democrats would rather spill our blood. Yeah, the problem is that you had the early mail-in voting. That's the only reason that he won. But it's sour grapes to complain about it. It's not like he won't be punished, the next time around by some of the people that voted for him the first time not knowing what he had said. That was really the legacy media's fault for withholding it until the 11th hour, knowing that early voting was happening, more than anything else. But the Democrats have embraced communism at this point, and candidates that support assassinating other people and things of that nature Why do I get the feeling this is not going to sit well with the average American come the midterms? This is why I'm not black-pilled on those. And these off elections, they tend to lean towards the Democrats anyway. If anything, in New York City, who can you vote for? Democrat v. Democrat, and the Republican sitting off to the side that has absolutely no chance and therefore was abandoned by some of his own voters. Well, there you go. You didn't have anyone else to vote for. It's the corrupt neoliberal dude or the commie. Yeah, what a great choice, Last weekend, I've seen this shit for 30 years, and the Democrats are the most dangerous they have been out of those 30, if not 24. Yeah, I would say that the Democratic Party has basically lost it, honestly. They've lost their way completely, and there was a time when the Democrats at least attempted to present themselves as sane. But, and they're not even attempting anymore. Federal Reserve has committed treason. When do you think we will get that not real socialism? Well, it's coming soon. What day does Mamdani officially replace Eric Adams in office? Not sure, because I'm not a New Yorker. Francisco Javier Perez Herrera. Sticks, what's the appeal of Mamdani to the youth? Dude is cringe. I just don't see it. Even Bernie was endearing at one point. Bernie was never endearing. He was always the same commie he is now as well. He's just managed to get old enough that people see him as the befuddled grandpa instead of the attempted revolutionary. As far as Mamdani, it's because he's relatively young and he's well-spoken. Well, he is much, much younger than the average politician. Youth and vigor do have their advantages when you're running for office, especially when your opponent happens to be Andy Cuomo. That's the only reason that he's going to be taking office. BW, this sucks, Sticks. This isn't a bellwether? Is SCOTUS anti-race districts our best hope? I don't know about the latter, but no, I would not call this a bellwether. I'd say in off elections, liberals tend to predominate. They've been doing this the whole time, and they've done it under multiple administrations. It does not matter if the Trump administration is popular or unpopular. It's still going to end up happening. So the whole it trickles down from the federal level thing is a mythology. It's just that they're better at organizing at that more local level. Conservatives are more likely to become complacent and not turn out to vote. This shows you why turning out to vote actually does matter, by the way. Copium poppies. How can you make a mockery of that which is already a joke, albeit a bad one? I think it's impossible to make a mockery of Democrats when they did that to themselves already. Well, yeah, I mean, true. Last beacon. I'm hoping like hell you're right. I'm literally hoping like hell you're right. Ha ha ha, hell. That reminds me of a cartoon I saw once. I'll try to find the meme and post it. That leaf. How long until Russia is laughing at New Yorkers standing in bread lines like they once did? Probably not long, since he's quite literally said he wants government-run grocery stores. That's not a good idea. It's, again, been tried before. If he imposes the policy, he loses. If he doesn't, he loses. Mamdani's going to be a loser. And liberals will regret it. They will have buyer's remorse so quickly. Look at Obama. They vote for Obama, right? The lefties, the far left. Obama's gonna save us. He'll end the war. He'll close Gitmo. He'll go after the corporations. What does he do? He gives hundreds of billions of dollars to a bunch of banks and corporations, prolongs and even expands the war, never does anything about Gitmo. This is why I switched and voted for Ron Paul in 2012. Because Obama was a shit show. Nothing that he had promised that I voted for him for actually ended up happening. Instead, he just gave a bunch of our tax money to corporations and shit like that and bombed people. This Mamdani will do the same thing. I can guarantee, official prediction to the lefties out there, you will have buyer's remorse about Mamdani within a couple of years. Last beacon, because having a J. Jones v. Murder Wish caster as AG is a very, very scary thought. Parlock, I think liberal women are our biggest threat. No, well, in Mamdani's case, he has a dick. At least supposedly, never seen it. You're not allowed to ask these days either. You got to use the right pronouns. Anyways, let's get to our sponsors before we get to the rest of the news. Because the big thing is the election right now. We'll probably return to that subject as well. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get some mushroom pills. They will invigorate you. They give you more energy. In fact, I'm going to have another one of them right now. Also, there's Doggy Dose. I call it Doggo Dose because, it's cuter. And you give that to your dog. Do about the same thing for them. Except in that case, I think that the blend is meant to calm them down as well. Not just to, make their fur shinier and give them better gastrointestinal support, but also to, not make them hyper. Because these give humans energy. Apparently that particular blend is more like chillaxed or something like that. Not 100% sure. That's the claim. It's 6 dual activated mushroom extracts. Cultivated Mind. Get their tea. We've got BiltongUSA.com. Anytime that Anton is mentioned, we must have some Bovrite, or Vegemite, or sometimes Marmite. I like the Marmite the least. I like the Bovrite the best. The South Africans definitely got that right. It's like a yeast spread. It's salty and delicious, by the way. Blends well with beef stew, I'll tell you fucking that much. Also, he's got meat available. He's probably got a room this size that's like nothing but a giant block of meat, and he just sits in there laughing at himself or something like that. But you can get Wagyu, Angus, Cabanassi, venison, bison. The list goes on and on. There's an awful lot of meat available. Droywurst is, I think, my new favorite, though. I think I like that even more than the Cabanassi, actually. It's delicious. I think it's beef. I'm not 100% sure, Anton. You'll have to tell me at some point. Also, Sticks, Hex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available as well. And finally, raise a glass to jamandbean.com. That is jamandbean.com, the home of Plank Blend Coffee. I love this smell. It's a comforting smell. It's much smoother than the kind of coffee that you typically are going to find. Also, lots and lots of teas. Yunnan Jig if you want that caffeine boost. It's like a black tea. And then there's the Healer. That's for more like an herbal tea. They've got some spicy, kind of zinger style teas. That's for when you got a cold or something like that. And then, of course, you've got the Zane, sort of like the green teas and stuff like that. All of them are delicious. And you can add milk, honey, sugar, whatever the hell you want. But the tea itself, on its own, is still awfully good. They've also got a chai version, but I don't really like chai, honestly. I mean, it's still tasty, but, given the choice, I think I'll stick with the Yunnan Jig. Yeah, Droywurst is 100% Wagyu, so beef, yes. Okay, Anton has confirmed that it is indeed made of dead cows. They were alive at one point. That makes them tastier. Let's see. Opinionated Junkie. Mandani will not be able to get done what he wants done. He will be hamstrung like every other politician. Even Trump is hamstrung. Trump not funding New York City. Yeah, I know. I think Abbott was threatening to tariff people if they fled New York City. That's a wise idea because I guarantee they will. I still like that article that I covered last week where there was the article, it was in praise of Mamdani. And they were saying, well, don't worry, the billionaires won't be fleeing New York City. No. Studies show that it's generally like the poor and the middle class. No shit, Sherlock. When taxes go up and the price of everything increases, and Mamdani is begging for money from Albany in order to fund his shitty programs, no shit, it's going to affect the middle class and the poor more than it will the rich. You got $1 billion. I think you can probably weather it. Just saying, I think that you won't have any problems, buying your next Big Mac or whatever. Figs, will Mamdani make living in New York City cheaper? Nope. No, it'll become much more expensive, actually. Guaranteed. Last speaking, insane would be an understatement. They are demon-possessed. They are absolutely fucking psychotic. I can guarantee you None of our little demon friends are inside of these people. They're just nuts. The same could be applied to Obama and McCain in 2008. Yes. Yeah, it was no choice 2008. It was no choice 2012. Obama v. Romney. Whoa, what a big difference. Dude, if you transcribed their speeches and ran them through AI, you could easily convince 90% of people that one of them was saying what the other actually said. It would be so total. In fact, I'm surprised that nobody's actually made a substantial living out of using AI to do exactly that and troll people politically. Maybe I should get in on that. BW, I think you may be wrong somehow. When New York City fails, they will blame it on Trump. As the Bible says, a reprobate mind and dogs returning to its vomit. I love that verse, by the way. No offense. As a dog returns to its vomit. I remember that one. Apocalypse, wow. Just got here. What did the GOP do wrong? Not good. Not good, but expected. The only thing that they really fucked up was in New Jersey, where Torelli should not have been 7 points or 6 or 7 points behind. They failed to give enough support, which is not surprising. But it was always almost a foregone conclusion Mamdani was going to win. There was like a 99% chance. Cuomo had a hair's chance, basically. In the Virginia gubernatorial race, it was always probably going to be going Democrat. The biggest surprise was the AG race, but the only reason that happened, and this is the one bright spot for Republicans, I suppose, is because of early mail-in ballots. Because people had been mailing in hundreds of thousands of votes before they were aware that the Democratic candidate wished death upon his conservative rival's children. But as far as the in-person votes for him, I'm wondering how many hundreds of thousands of people in Virginia are fundamentally brain dead as a result of this. How can you vote for someone who says such terrible things? Unless you too are a sadist. Bobby, yeah, you're right. If Sliwa dropped out, not all of his votes would have gone to Cuomo. It might have been closer, but it probably would not have flipped that race. I pointed that out several days ago. Last Beacon, yep, especially in Kansas City, when they tried to do a city-run grocery store and it went bankrupt. Yeah, that'll be funny. See, this'll just give us another example of memes about the failure of communism. When Mamdani, I'm hoping that he actually goes through with it, sets up government-run grocery stores, and he claims up and down, no, they're going to cooperate with local grocers and stuff. They won't be really competing with them. They won't drive any of them out of business. When basically it's nothing but crackheads standing outside stealing things. The government can't even grow and sell weed and make money. As a result, I have difficulty believing they can run a grocery store. That's a little bit more complex. Weed. Plant the seedling. Seedling goes in the ground. Water it! It's called weed for a reason. They can't even make that profitable. So, what the hell are they going to do with the grocery store? And they'll have lots of DEI hires and stuff. So, the dude that has to get your stuff from the top shelf for the little old lady will be like a midget and have to use like some sort of escalation system to get up there. And weird shit like that. Again, this may sound like hyperbole, but virtually every hyperbolic reference that I've seen with regards to people on the left eventually comes true. Give it a couple years. Yeah, you're gonna have the Mamdani, the midget escalator. Mamdani's midget escalator for when you're 3 feet tall but need to reach 7 feet up. BW, this sets precedent. Our blue states are going commie. Yep. They're becoming more and more socialistic. They're halfway there already. Aurora Sonic Reactor. Commie Flakes. Government wins, you lose. Communist food. Here it is. Here's your dinner. Spike. There's been talks of moving Wall Street to Miami or Texas for a while. Better infrastructure and lower taxes, which will be needed with PTD rule dropping it to 2,000. You also missed one of my rants. Sorry about that. Let me try to find it. I think I missed Vulcus too. Universal suffrage shouldn't exist. The average person is barely sentient. cattle, I don't think I can say that whole word, that can't think beyond their emotions in the short term. Oh yeah, Spike, the Kansas GOP House Speaker is trying to cancel redrawing House seat lines. Then you have Randy Fine in Florida going after Trucker, trying to divide the party. These weak Republicans must go. Yeah, the Republican leadership is not 100%. Trump is doing a good job, and you have principled Republicans. They may not always agree with that bottom line, like Rand Paul or Massey, that are at least trying to do a good job. And by the way, can we please talk about Massey really quickly? I don't have it in the docket, but before we get to Ozempic, I wanted to bring this up. Why do people have a problem with Massey remarrying? Come on, dude. He's allowed to live his life. I know some people are claiming, rumor is, that Massey was already flirtatious with the person that he just married while he was still married. But this is not proven. It's none of our business. And it could have been with the consent of his ex-wife anyways, his widow anyway. We have no clue. Mike the Womp. Clank, motherfuckers! I had something to say, but YouTube keeps telling me to edit my chat, and I don't know what it doesn't like, so forget it. That can happen. Copium Poppies. Reminder that our new music video, Dimitri's Curse, needs to be played lots of times. Available on YouTube and Rumble. Yeah, so on that one, I'm Team Massey. I know that some, like, hyper-Christian individuals are like, you're not supposed to remarry, but remarriage does happen. It's none of your business. Hope that they're happy. You know, as long as they're a happy couple and stuff like that, I don't see any problem with it. So yes, we're going to I'll have to use AI later and make an image of Mom Donnie's midget, gathering food in the government grocery store. If you get the right prompts, you can make some incredible images with Grok, actually. Miss Grimstock. Hey Sticks, Virginians need to head out to R&H Guns on Warrior Drive in Stevens City before the Dems take control, next to Papa John's. I've never had Papa John's pizza. Maybe somebody can tell me, is it actually better than, similar competitors? Because I've never had it. Apocalypse, wow. Mom Donnie's policies will price out the small bodegas and grocers, leaving big box stores to buy the properties. Big business will benefit. Agreed. It's what happens all the time. The thing is, they try to, and there were like ballot initiatives and stuff, and I think some of them carried to like rezone things and, make it more straightforward to redevelop land and stuff. Now, some of the propositions made sense, like not being so onerous on people when they just want to modestly modify their property for non-commercial purposes. Like, I would have voted in favor for something like that. You should be able to build a tool shed or put up a solar panel without having to wait, fucking 7 months or something crazy like that for permission. And it has to go through, like, a council. And then the borough leader. And the mayor, by the way. That's one of the major problems. It would streamline the process. That made sense. But then there was another one to try to create more affordable housing and pay for it. How the hell are you going to pay for it? And by the way, when Mamdani's policies come crashing down around the city, people are going to be moving out. You're not going to need affordable housing. You need less housing. You're going to be demolishing buildings because they're going to be derelict and stuff. You're going to fucking destroy everything. Broken Prophet. I can build a heater out of a metal can in Crisco. Yeah, you can do stuff like that as long as you've got fats and oils and stuff like that. You know, always just shove a wick in it, and as long as you've got the right casing for it, you can do all sorts of things. Reminds me of the dwarven camp stoves mentioned in my favorite book, Elfin Ship, where they had, like, paper wicks that were shoved into tallow, basically, and, you light them and then you cook food on it with a grill. Great book, by the way, Elfin Ship by James P. Blaylock. Now, we're going to do some debunking. The Ozempic effect is finally showing up in obesity data. Now, this particular article is talking about the decline, actually. It's only a marginal one, but it is actually there over the last couple of years. with regards to obesity. Now, keep in mind, there are always lies, damn lies, and statistics. At any given time, the body mass index could be altered so that, people that are fatter than before are no longer technically obese, because that's a subjective term, technically speaking. Really, you should just use the dichotomous term fat or not fat. That's basically all you need. But then they have different gradients of obesity and stuff like that, like morbid obesity. Yeah, no, so the person is really, really fat. Okay, again, it's still part of the same dichotomy. That person is really, really, really skinny, like Eugenia Cooney mode, is probably going to die faster. Honestly, I had a death pool, actually, with several people. It wasn't like an actual betting thing of who would die first, Eugenia Cooney or Simply Sarah, the extremely fat YouTuber whose videos are mostly removed. And I had thought that maybe Eugenia Cooney would actually manage to die first. I was wrong. I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. Which one's worse, being 600 pounds or being 60 pounds? Well, the world knows now. But, yeah, as far as the Ozempic effect myth, what's really happened is that the economic downturn is literally forcing people to skip meals and choose different dietary options. People are, if you skip meals, you're going to tend to lose weight. And cutting out also certain things like alcohol, which can lead to weight gain, they're going to be cutting that out because they simply can't afford it. And so they're looking for cheaper options. They're trying to cook their own things as much as possible, and also they're cooking less. They're making less food because they don't have the money for it. Well, no shit. And also, when you lose your car and have to walk to work, well, you're getting more exercise. An unintended positive health benefit of Bidenomics, actually. And those prices, by the way, that rose so catastrophically under Biden, and none of the legacy media acknowledges that that ever happened, they were like, basically, suck it up. Now, all of a sudden, under Trump, it's a problem. But they are still technically rising. Now, they're more pacing wage growth now, but still, the damage has already been done and is so severe, you'd need a deflationary cycle for at least a good year or something like that in order to put the genie back in the bottle. That will not happen. Expect the higher prices on food, outpacing wages generally speaking, to continue for the rest of your lives, because government is bad at economic policy. So Ozempic is not causing a considerable enough dent in weight loss to actually significantly reduce the obesity rate. What's happening is people are fucking starving. BW, trouble is, by the time his policies fall through, people forget. And new dumbass young voters coming along, that's why voting age should be 25. Well, then every other right would be limited to people 25 and above. I believe everything should be 18 and above for, well, basically everything. It's like in some states, you can't buy booze till you're 21, but you can buy, your way into the military and go shoot people. I never thought that this made a whole lot of sense. Miss Grimstock, hi Sticks again. It's time to get your 10,000 Lux Therapy Light to combat SAD, Seasonal Affective Disorder. I have 3. They really help. Yeah, I kind of would like to get like a sodium vapor lamp or something like that, I guess. BW. No, the First Amendment technically does not fully incept for people under 18. Technically, until you become a full member of the militia, you don't really have rights, you have privileges. You have human rights, you have certain civil rights, but not necessarily guaranteed constitutional rights. I mean, depending on court decision, it sort of depends on where you happen to be, actually. It's a very, very strange idea. Spike. Before the Great Depression, a lot of Americans got overweight and unhealthy. The Depression reduced a lot of these problems. And yes, the economy has been contracting since 2022, thanks to Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden caused this problem. And I think that's what's leading to a reduction in obesity. Jeff Garman. Taking Ozempic without changing how you eat will only make things worse. Yeah, it's called eat a healthy diet and get a bit more exercise. Yes, there are people that are genetically predisposed to getting, to excessive weight gain and stuff, and that's something that could require surgery or it could require medication or something. But most of the time, it's just because they come back from work, what do? They sit on the couch and they eat potato chips or something like that. Oh no, you got fat? Well, what a big surprise. I myself do not have that problem, as you can plainly see. Jason W. Drink prune juice before you go to bed. You'll lose weight by morning. Prune juice, by the way, is delicious. Its side effect is not so delicious. A little bit of it goes a long way. One time I made that mistake, and had the shits for a little while. But I love the flavor. I love prunes. Honestly, I think they're delicious. It's just, they're going to make you shit everywhere. That's the problem. They need to try to genetically modify prunes to make them stop making you shit so that you can enjoy the flavor. Women think that having a boyfriend is embarrassing now. This actually is a white pill article. Now, it comes from a feminist perspective. It comes from we don't need no man. We're tired of dealing with second best. You gotta be real upstanding and gentlemanly and stuff. So it's like an empowered female article. But the kernel of truth here is hysterical, which is that it talks about the fact that women are no longer doing like the sleeping around thing as much. Okay, that's a good thing. And talking about, idiots and stuff like that. And you can go through it, actually. And also, apparently, this has something to do with TikTok. It's become a big, off-track cottagecore sort of thing or something like that. I don't use TikTok, so I wouldn't know about that. And the idea that women are no longer interested in just, sleeping around. They want the gentleman. They want Mr. Right. How is this a bad thing? By the way, how does it negatively affect men, by the way? Also, how the hell is this even feminism? It's presented that way. I don't know. I have absolutely no clue. The article is a hot mess. If you go through it, it contravenes itself multiple times, and then there's a bunch of videos and stuff. And then apparently it's based on a Vogue article saying that having a boyfriend is embarrassing. Well, yeah, if he's an idiot or something like that, I can understand why, I think that it's rather masculine to envision a world in which men that are actually capable of providing and are at least reasonably fit and stuff are the ones that are mating more often. I think that's a eugenic world, actually. S.C. Woods, Ozempic towel suppress appetite. Supposedly. King of Biltong, high prices of food is why I specialize in imports. We have cut costs with suppliers and are keeping prices down. Don't forget your Biltong, BiltongUSA.com. Use code STICKS for 10% off Biltong. Delicious. Copium poppies. Prune juice is a warrior's drink. Worf. Isn't that from Star Trek, I think? I never really watched it. Also, wasn't there an H in Worf? I'm not 100% sure. I mean, again, I was never a Trekkie or anything like that. I was more into Babylon 5 myself. I am patrician tier when it comes to sci-fi. Copium poppies. Prunes are gross in general. But when I was a kid, I tried those ones that had the pits removed and they were flavored like lemon and lime. Those were decent. Sounds ghastly. Lemon and orange, I meant. Still sounds ghastly. Yeah, I'll stick to like regular prune juice. I find it delicious. And there was some sort of cookie that I had once that had prunes in it. And it was really, really good. I think my mom baked them once when I was like maybe 5 or something like that. I can remember it. I can remember it from the flavor. Also fig cookies. Those are good. Meisner Flux. Agreed on Massey's marital issues. Shocking in the Victorian era. Meanwhile, a third of the world has the same issue. Judge not, lest ye be judged. Humans are complex. With each misstep lies redemption. Yeah, I like how there's so much judgment of Massey for remarrying. Okay, So the old, hugely Christian opinion was, hey, you're only allowed to do stuff within marriage. Okay, well, he got married. But now it's, but it's a remarriage, so somehow it's wrong. Come on, give me a break, dude. It makes no sense. Aurora Sonic Radar, Trek, Wars, Babylon 5, Foundation, The Hobbit, Logan's Run, yes to all. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, how is Worf spelled? Is it W-O-R-F, W-A-R-F, or W-H-A-R-F? I don't know. But I loved Babylon 5. Still do. Gotta watch all that again. Copium Poppies, yes. Worf, Klingon dude on Next Generation. Someone introduced him to prune juice thinking he'd hate it, but it became his favorite drink. He called it a warrior's drink. Well, I mean, if you're into that sort of thing. Mike the Wop. I watched Star Trek Next Generation when I was a kid. Captain Picard was a great role model. Yeah, if we're not careful, people are going to start getting into a debate over Kirk versus Picard at some point. I was never a huge Star Trek fan. I did like the original with Kirk more, because it's so campy and so overacted at times. With William Shatner. Mosquitoes infiltrated Iceland. Unfortunately, it looks like Iceland may have a reproducing population of mosquitoes for the first time. While they have seen them there before, they apparently have never successfully reproduced. And unfortunately, because there's probably only a few of them, they'll probably be heavily inbred, so they might mutate and turn into something worse or something like that. They'll have like extra legs. Their family tree will be like the family trees down in Alabama. No offense to those of you that aren't inbred. I don't care if you are, but, just saying. They might have some deformities. Be funny if you had a mosquito that had like 5 proboscis instead of 1, and it could suck 5 times as much blood just as quickly. Or giant mosquitoes or something, like a Fallout mosquito. Meisner Flux, there was a prune juice commercial with that scene. Oh, God. Ministry of Wrongthink. I'm confused. Why is the left celebrating winning in deep blue states like it's a surprise upset? A communist beat a socialist, so MAGA is over? Yeah, that's a good example. New Jersey has been leaning more towards swing state status. But outside of that race, really, Virginia has been going more blue. New York City, well, again, New York State is leaning more towards lean status as opposed to solid blue. New York City is pretty much called for. And the 2 candidates are both Democrats anyway, so who gives a shit, Copium Poppies. Fuck William Shatner. Kirk used to be my favorite captain. Now it's Captain Sisko from Deep Space Nine. I never watched Deep Space Nine, actually. In fact, I know nothing about it. I liked Star Wars until Disney ruined it. The only good movie they ever released was Rogue One, and even that went against canon, so, Yeah, I even liked the prequels. Even Episode 2, which was badly flawed, ultimately was still watchable. It's something I used to watch the prequel movies, and I'd sit there eating Indian food and watching the prequels and stuff, and just hanging out. It was fun. CP Simple. Sisko is a commander, not a captain. I thought Sisko was a musician. Haha, get it? With the thong song, I think. Why are people talking about fucking Candace Owens and stuff like that? I don't know, sometimes chat gets way weird. Oh, this is a really fun one, actually. Bill Maher went on a crazy rant with regards to UFOs, actually, on HBO the other day. And he was talking about how that there probably are aliens wandering around and stuff about that. It's in the context, though, of USOs. So, because the UFO stories aren't intriguing the public enough anymore, because it's like old Grady footage and shit like that, now they're talking about USOs. This is a common facet of claims of something otherworldly, paranormal, stuff like that existing. It's always in the hinterlands. It's somewhere that's hard to explore. So when people first came to the Americas, you had like the campfire tales with the hoop snake and stuff like that. A lake that is considerably large is more likely to be said to harbor a serpent in it or something like that, as some sort of monster. Deep forests, high mountains, anywhere that's remote that it's difficult for humans to penetrate because fewer people. Gobi Desert with the death worm and stuff like that. The Mongolian death worm is, by the way, fascinating. Also could kind of sort of be plausible, actually. That's other than that and probably, large hominids in the Pacific Northwest. Those are two of the only ones that really are plausible as far as finding a significant new species. One, because it's so remote that virtually nobody ever even goes into the area. It wouldn't probably be an electrifying eel that rides around in the sand of the Gobi Desert, but there may be some sort of, centipede or something that resembles a snake or a worm. And in the case of the hominids, of course, if they're intelligent, they're going to avoid mankind. Beyond that, though, most of the time, it's just looking at things that are beyond, and people's imaginations run wild. About the only exception would be UFOs and things like that. Because space is so vast, there's other intelligent life out there in the universe. It definitely exists. There's no chance that we're the most advanced species in the entire universe. 0% chance. There's probably no chance that we're even in the top 50%, honestly. We're basically, less hairy versions of monkeys that blow each other up. How advanced can we be? But that being said, they're not coming to this planet. And the USO thing that has been sort of grappled onto by now Mar, among others, is a pile of stinking horseshit. Now, the USOs that you are seeing are misidentifications, large creatures, enemy submarines, possibly testing vehicles by the US government, and things of that nature. You're not seeing aliens. Little green men are not coming to Earth in order to lurk in the water to be identified and then simply scoot off when they are. It doesn't make any sense. There would be no point to it. So, I am not a believer in UFOs and USOs. Not on Earth, anyway. You need to look further out if you want to find signs of other life. JD, Tarl, some retard on Facebook gave me a novel-length response about me being a delusional crypto-fascist and saying that that the National German Workers' Party was a leftist movement. By the way, rotten piss, Cheney. Well, I suppose, the NSDAP was a leftist movement. Yeah, definitely rotten piss to Cheney. Copium Poppies. Deep Space Nine was one, if the best Star Treks, but it was a spin-off of Next Generation. You should seriously binge-watch the OG series and movies. Next-Gen movies, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. Yeah, I remember watching Star Trek Enterprise when I was younger. But no, I don't ever think I watched anything from Deep Space Nine. I don't think. Not 100% sure. Yeah. Anyways, we'll talk a little bit more about the election now, I suppose. Again, as a recap, I don't think that any of the election results are particularly surprising. And again, it's a mythology that's being spawned by people who are on the left. They're celebrating right now because they won elections. Okay, that's fine. You won them in places like New York City. You won them in places that are either safely or at least lean blue. So, you can pat yourselves on the back all you want, but really nobody else is particularly concerned. I'm certainly not black-pilled about it. Number one, I'm not a Republican or a conservative anyway. Number two, it doesn't really show strength. It shows the unfortunate effects of early mail-in voting, which is why it should be banned, generally speaking, by the way. Imagine that you get early mail-in voting, a candidate's really popular. This is what happened with the Virginia Attorney General's race. And they're clearly ahead, and so more people are voting for them. Then they hear that something absolutely terrible about them occurred. So they hear that the person, raped a baby or something like that. Well, they've already cast their vote. It doesn't matter. They would change their vote if they could, but they can no longer change it. This is why early voting should be strictly limited, and mail-in voting should be virtually banned. Should be limited to absentee ballots for people that are overseas for diplomatic or military purposes. Otherwise, you wouldn't have an attorney general in Virginia right now, a Democrat, of course, that said that he wanted his opponent's children to be shot. Now, that's just great. This individual, Jay Jones, is totally going to bring justice to the state of Virginia. By the way, I hope that they crucify him over this issue, and they bring it up constantly, so that he can't even have a press conference without being queried on this particular issue. I can almost guarantee he's going to try to prevent this from happening. It's probable, unless he's completely stupid. BP, $10, no comment, thank you very much. Liberty Punk, Jay Jones winning is blackpilling to a degree. Dems will just vote for someone who wants kids to be shot by guns. This rhetoric would have been disqualifying even 5 years ago. Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of the people that originally voted didn't know, because those revelations came out by the time early voting had already begun happening. And of course, Jay Jones is clearly going to get more of the early mail-in votes. And early in-person votes as well. So he already had a considerable lead before the election even began. This is why early voting is such a problem. I can understand a limited period of early voting for people who have certain jobs and stuff like that, but really it needs to be massively more limited, and it should be in person only, generally speaking. Again, unless a person is serving overseas, they're a diplomat, something like that. Yes, Bookwormatic, Jay Jones did indeed win. That is because, again, of early voting. Because a lot of the people voted before they realized he was wishing death on small children. So, I guess Virginia has to take its lumps the same as New York City is about to. So Virginia and New York City are fucked at this point. Mamdani will fail. Virginia is now led by failures, and it'll be a shit show. So enjoy the next couple of years, because it makes my job easier. There's always going to be plenty of news to talk about from those two states. BP sent $20. No comment. Thank you, my friend. Mein Freund. Zohan. Sticks, I think you're forgetting how devalued human life is to commies. They don't care about killing children as long as it's a political opponent. Yeah, but keep in mind that a lot of the people that were voting for Jones after the early voting, they're simply partisans. So the fact is, he got a boost at the beginning before people knew the truth about him, and that put him over the edge, I think. That was the margin that he needed. The partisans continued to vote for him simply because Orange Man bad more than anything else. And so everyone else voted, for his opponent. It wasn't a huge margin, but it's still, I would say it's a little bit of a surprise how big the margin was, because it shows that a lot of Democrats, you're correct, don't care about the fact that somebody would say such a thing. It's like if I were to come out, I'm running for mayor of Rutland, and then all of a sudden emails from me come out talking about how I want to bend my opponent over and fuck them in the ass against their will or something, you'd presume that I wouldn't win the election. It would sink my chances. But if early voting is there, and I happen to have been doing a good job to begin with, it might not make any difference. Spike. The GOP should keep pushing on lean blue states to make them into swing states. Not only could we flip them, we spread the Democrats out in a national election. Yeah, there is targeting going on. Like, Pressler is still very much on the job, for example, among others. JD, the fact that the imbeciles on the left are cheering this as some kind of bellwether for the midterms is laughable and ludicrous. These elections were in deep blue areas. Not shocked this happened. Yeah, I mean, I would have been very shocked if Mamdani didn't win. I would have been shocked if Schellenberger didn't win. As far as the Jay Jones thing, I would have been shocked if he didn't win because of the early voting. The only one that is a little confusing is New Jersey. Really, that's the only one. Even there, the Republicans get, again, the silver lining of having come relatively close, but the GOP fucked it up. And they have a tendency to do that. Happens all the time. They should have been focusing much more heavily on New Jersey. They should have abandoned New York entirely. They should have withdrawn all support for Sliwa and thrown it all behind Cuomo. But that didn't happen, so Mamdani ran away with him. In fact, I'm going to look at the margin. Give me a sec. Oh. Now everyone's blaming Sliwa, of course, and it's like, yeah, he should have dropped out of the race. No shit, he probably knows that too, but I'm going to see the margin. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have been enough. Even if every single person who voted for Sliwa voted for Cuomo, it still wouldn't have carried him over the margin. Mamdani get over 50%, get over it. Barely over 50%, but yeah, apparently New Yorkers have decided to engage in masochism. RMO, Mamdani cannot run for the presidency. He is from Uganda. He is not a natural-born U.S. citizen. He is incapable of running for that particular position. Yeah, about the only way that you could make the numbers add up is Sliwa had dropped out months ago and explicitly endorsed and campaigned for Cuomo. Then you'd be close. It would have been more of a 50-50. But I mean, who gives a shit? They're both Democrats. Nobody cares. Yes. Yes, thankfully, it is impossible. Yes, cool. And that's the other thing. That's the other thing being pointed out. Broken Prophet, Cuomo killed old people. Yes, Cuomo gave the order to take people who were sick and put them in old folks' homes because they ran out of beds, thus infecting a bunch of people that actually were susceptible to dying of the coof, killing, I believe, tens of thousands of people in the process. Also, he's scandal-ridden in other ways as well, so, I mean, the rejection of Cuomo by the people of New York City is not that terribly surprising. Also, you've got that youth left that rises up in places that are fairly blue, including parts of New York City, although not all of them. Certainly in the areas like Manhattan where they're gentrified, you get all these NIMBYist leftoid kids, and they're going to vote for communists. Demega, I just got hit by a falling acorn? CP Semple, yes, the ventilator panic. You remember when they bought hundreds and hundreds of ventilators and they had like open air hospitals and like weird shit like that? And it was just complete nonsense from day one. They're going to try to memory hole all of the things that all of us know, by the way, about, COVID. They're not going to be putting that in the history books. They will sanitize that so fucking heavily. Jangel Quinn. Yep, people were supposedly dying on ventilators all around in the ICU, according to the live news. Yep. Yeah, I remember all of it. I remember the face diapers and those stupid fucking plastic face shields. Now, a lot of people made a lot of money actually making those. Knew somebody who actually made those cloth masks. Now, do they work? No. They do not work. Just to be clear, and now I can say this on YouTube, by the way, because they changed their rules. Face diapers do not protect you against COVID. They do not protect you against influenza. They do not protect you against rhinoviruses. They don't really do anything. It's literally nothing more than for show, and I still see retards wearing them sometimes. You never see that in the Netherlands, like other than Asian people, but you know they tend to wear those little surgical masks anyway. Outside of a medical setting, you'll never see a mask. They're too busy drinking Heineken. Here in the United States, though, sometimes I'll go to the grocery store and there'll be someone with a mask on, and I'm like, I want to instinctively avoid this person because at this point I believe they're probably a sociopath or something. Somebody's got a mental problem. We'll get you in the mental institute. King of Biltong. We had a face diaper in the shop in Sunset yesterday. It was the mom of the woman lying about our business. Next will be a sign, keeping masks out. We have options for them to order online. I refuse to help them any longer. That's a good idea. I mean, it's your store. Yeah, you can ban people from masking in your store. You know, face coverings are not allowed. You know, we're afraid you might be shoplifting or something. They might sue you, but they'd probably lose, so... True, John Schoen. The COVID vaccine is useless. That entire period of time was bullshit, honestly. Parts of it were amusing, like watching people panic, and they had like these weird like makeshift things that they made to try to filter air, and people who you know to be otherwise relatively intelligent just going along with the bottom line and shit like that. And people who normally you would perceive of as dumb actually fucking getting it and saying, what the hell is this shit? And then the face diapers, lockdowns, the empty cabins in airplanes, and all of that other stuff. Stockpiling. I mean, stockpiling is fun. Having a fully stocked pantry is always a good idea. Dave the Impaler, why hasn't anyone been arrested and faced tribunals over the pandemic? I don't know at this point. I would think there's plenty of evidence. BW, maybe it's magical thinking about bellwether. After all, Republicans shouldn't have come as close as they did. Well, yeah, but yeah, the thing is, like, the margin was roughly normal, actually, in most of these races. Again, the only exception is the Attorney General's race in Virginia, but that's because of early voting and because people did not know that that the dude was sadistic. Spike, my hospital spent $12 million converting an indoor football field to a patient overload for COVID. Never had a single patient, and records on how the money was spent can't be found. What a surprise! I believe that this happened at multiple medical facilities. They probably embezzled the fucking money. JD, the COVID era was a nightmare that I'm so glad is over and done with. We degraded society to its lowest point. Then, the Floyd riots and BLM ruined everything else. Our generation is fucked. Nah, we'll be fine, but mistakes are made, and corruption exists. Harrison Bergeron, I had a shirt that said control, oppress, victimize, isolate, divide during the pandemic that I wore everywhere. It was fantastic. Yeah, I had one that said, your mask is so stupid, if I remember correctly. Actually, I think I still have it. Or you look so stupid in your mask, or something like that. I wore that on a number of occasions. I really like that video when the train was going by, actually, in the Netherlands, and I'm not masked, of course. I've got the mask on my head like a hat, and I'm just waving at them creepily. Everyone's looking out the window saying, what the fuck is this crazy dude doing? And everyone else is, like, freaking out. Dude, other than having food poisoning, and I think I had a day cold maybe at one point, I haven't been sick in like now 7 years or something like that. So it's like, who gives a fuck? This is the longest that I've gone without getting influenza or anything like that. They try to ascribe it to the fact that people are still wearing masks, but I don't see that many around me, and yeah, still not getting sick, dude. And it's funny, like in New York, speaking of the devil, quite literally, in New York City, like, didn't they have a rule against wearing masks in public? Because they were afraid that shoplifters and rioters would use them. But then during the pandemic, all of a sudden everyone had to wear a mask when they were in public? That was a little bit weird, I'm telling you. Zim the Despot, am I the only one who thinks Umberto Eco is to political discourse what Sigmund Freud, I like that twist of phrase, is to psychology? Oh no. Sigmund Freud was a fraud, though, I will say that. My dad's rambling about the news. Liberty Punk. The original build-up to COVID was keynote. Actually felt apocalyptic for a little bit. Then around April, I realized it was a nothing burger and the psyop of our lifetime. Yeah, it was bullshit. Anyways, I'm going to go offline. I need to docket news for tomorrow. I still have the one-off videos to make, and I've got a variety of other things that I need to do. Yes, indeed, including eat some food at some point. Food being part of a recommended diet. I thank you all for tuning in. We'll probably end up talking a little bit more about some of the election fallout tomorrow, actually, on the live stream, so I'll try to figure it out. Also, I just want to listen to music for a little while and maybe play Napoleon Total War. I did a test the other day where I had an army of only cannons versus an army of only infantry. The infantry actually won, and that's because the cannons kept overshooting them with the canister shot. Otherwise, they would have scattered their brains all over the place. S.C. Woods, masks don't stop the virus. They do, however, stop the droplets that the virus rides on, so they're better than nothing. They are not to protect you, but others. That is false. It does absolutely nothing for that whatsoever. It has a 0% effectiveness rate. That's about all. Peace out.